We're going. Yeah, like I said, it's all brand new to me. But here we are. We have my guest today is Paul Keene, singer, songwriter, front man of the Pawn Shop Roses, amongst many other talents. But thank you for being on the show today, Paul. It's awesome.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
So I want to tell you this to kick things off. I remember the very first time I heard your guys' band, and it's very rare for me to go see a band play in the area and not like feel like jealousy in that I should be on that stage. I'm better than these people. And you guys were like one of the first bands I saw that I had the jealousy just because it wasn't I should be there. It was holy shit, these guys are fucking amazing. So
well, thank you.
Yeah.
Usually if I see a band that's amazing, I get jealous, oh my God, like we're not as good as these guys or whatever,
Yeah, well, see, for me, what that turns into me is I just go, yeah, no, this makes sense. They should be there and I should be here. Like, But so where did you grow up? And where did you call hometown?
I grew up in Kennett Square, Pennsylvania. Grew up next to a couple farms. My dad was a farmer. He worked for a guy. And pretty much was like a caretaker of the farm. Took care of the horses and mowed the fields and all that fun stuff in southern Pennsylvania.
Very cool. And did your mother work, or was she at home? Or?
She was at home. When we grew up, she started doing like housekeeping and stuff like that. But she was mostly a homemaker, as they say.
Yeah.
But she was like the musically talented one.
Okay, what was like her piano, guitar, or?
She played guitar. She played an old K, which I still have. It's like an old parlor guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think she got it from like Sears.
That is awesome.
She learned like a bunch of folk songs and like "Hang Down Your Head, Tom Dooley," stuff like that. Yeah. So I learned music listening to that. Plus, she listened to the Beatles and CCR and CSNY and all that stuff.
Yeah. So it started, I'm guessing, early for you, that you were just kind of engulfed in music then?
I did. I sang around the house. I just kind of walked around the house and just sang whatever, like Jingle Bells for like, even if it wasn't Christmas, I'm singing Jingle Bells or something.
That's awesome. Did you sing in school at all, or chorus or anything like that?
I did chorus, but I didn't like the structure so much. I was like, we got to rehearse. Like, what is this all about? I'd rather just kind of just do it and not rehearse.
Yeah.
I was also into sports. I wasn't big enough to play football, but I played 9th grade football. I was like 5 foot 90 pounds or something like that. And just got demolished. But like I love sports, throughout middle school and high school, and then I started getting into music later. I picked up that K, and I started learning stuff.
Nice. So like when you did you teach yourself, or did you take lessons?
I taught myself from that folk book that my mom had. Like it had the chord structures and everything like that. So
that's awesome. Can you remember like the first complete song you could pull off?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I was a huge Oasis fan because this is probably like 95, 96. Loving Oasis on MTV. I was like Wonderwall, Don't Look Back in Anger, Champagne Supernova. I learned Don't Look Back in Anger because it had the chords I already knew. It had like C, G, A minor, E7, F, G, C. I was like, I knew all those open chords, so
yeah,
that's how I did it.
So, do you have any siblings?
I do. I have 2 sisters.
Are they musical?
Not really.
No.
I mean, all right. So my sister Jackie can kind of sing. Jackie, if I show this to you, I think you have a good voice, but she doesn't think she has a good voice. Like she's like, I'm going to karaoke tonight. Do you have any recommendations for what I should do? I was like, just act like you're awesome. Like 50% of music on stage is like, just be awesome.
Yeah. So So there wasn't like a Keen Family Singers going on, right? There wasn't like a
No, there was not much. No, I mean, my mom even won't admit that she was. She is a good singer still. Like she won't really admit that. They're very shy. They're not really into performing, you know.
Yeah.
So
So okay, that makes sense. I get that. So as you were learning early on, is is there a point you can remember in your mind where you were like, you know what, this has got to be more than a hobby. This is like, when did it take over?
probably, I guess I was a bit in a band in high school called Joe's New Socks, which is like a terrible name, but good guys. And just being on stage and really, you know, coming out of my shell and doing all that. Because, you know, I've always been kind of shy. I'm still kind of shy. But I go on stage and it feels, you know, amazing to just kind of let it go. Because you're not like really thinking about anything but what you're doing. Your mind's not, you know, in all sorts of different directions. You're focusing on your stuff, you know. Um, I was like, man, I would love to do this. I got like a regular job, working like data entry or something. Um, and I got sick of it. I got a gig every Wednesday night in Manayunk at a place called Castle Rocks. And I was making like $300 at the data entry place a week. I was making $100 at Castle Rocks. So I was like, I'm going to quit my job and get two other gigs that pay $100. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I have like 3 gigs, $100 a piece. I can make as much as I am, you know, punching buttons. So that's probably when I said, hey, I can do this for a living.
Yeah. What kind of songs were you playing at that time?
Probably the same covers I'm still doing, like Stones, Beatles, Petty, you know, CCR, Allman Brothers, that kind of, you know, classic rock stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, also like you were saying, kind of the same stuff you heard around the house and all. So, like,
Right, exactly. Yeah, I never really got out of it. I got into it and I never got out of it.
yeah. So, at what point, in this whole grand scheme, so you start playing out in Manayunk, and you kind of start picking up these kind of gigs. Um, are you starting to get a following at this point? Like, are you starting to see the same faces out at places?
Yeah, yeah, it's a good question. In Manayunk at Castle Rocks, that's when we started to build the following because they knew I'd be there every Wednesday. So, you know, you got the regulars and they're like, oh, I love this guy. And then they tell their friends. And then all of a sudden, your old friends are showing up. And then, you know, like, uh, people are like, oh, I heard this bar's pumping on Wednesday nights. So that was when we started to gain that following. And it was good that there was like a bar called Grape Street, like right down the street.
Sure.
It was Grape Street Pub, and then they moved to Main Street, which was the Grape Room. But that's when we sort of like built the following, and then that was our place, and then, you know, Castle Rocks, and then, you know, that whole area was a good spot for us at the time.
So, at that time, I guess, is when Pawn Shop started kind of really getting, like, how did you guys meet to be able to start that first lineup?
Well, it goes back to like probably like 2000, maybe like after high school. I graduated in 97, so I had a girlfriend that went to Westchester University, and she was in the music program. And she was like, and I actually went to high school with her too. So she was like, you know, your band's not together in high school. Like, do you want to start something else? I'm like, sure. So she got some of her friends together who played, they were like a 3-piece, guitar, bass, and drums. They love Zeppelin. So they're doing this riffy stuff. So I ended up getting in with them at Westchester. We were called Kush.
Okay.
We were looking for another guitar player, so I went on pamusician.com and found Kevin Bentley, who's currently in the band. And then me and Kevin kind of clicked and just kept rolling with it. And changed the name to Pawn Shop Roses and added some new members, and that's how we kind of kept getting
That's
it rolling.
that's awesome. So like, like you said, Kevin's still there. Like, was that kind of like did that click right away? Did you like know, like, hey, this guy's going to be by my side for decades?
Well, I think what happened was like he rehearsed with us. I loved his playing. Chad Miller, who was the other guitar player, he was more of like a dirty bluesy player, but Kevin could play. He could play country licks. He could play melodic stuff. He could do all that. And I was like, oh, this is really great. And then he was like, I love your voice, man. Over a bunch of drinks. We're like, hey, I love your playing. I love your voice, man. And then end up like, being really great friends. And yeah, he's like, I'm going to ride your coattails. Obviously, coattails to Castle Rocks. but, yeah, I mean, we definitely clicked right away.
So prior to this, were you writing music yourself or in the early days there?
Yeah, I wrote some songs for my high school band. But they didn't really like them because they were like a funk jam band. And I'm just playing like these rock and roll, straight ahead tunes. And then I got with Chad, who was in Kush, Chad Miller. And I started writing lyrics to his music. It was like a Page and Plant type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got better at guitar and started writing my own stuff, like, solo or whatever, which I still do now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been writing since I was probably like 17. Crappy songs at 17 probably, but.
Sure. Can you remember the first song you ever wrote?
I think it was like something like Moon rhymes with June and something.
Yeah. No, I feel you. The very first song, like legit full song I ever wrote was a song about how a chicken cutlet is in the shape of a heart. And it was like, I'm giving you this chicken forget about it. But yeah.
Well, we're going that far back. I wrote a song about the Poconos when I was like 4. I was like, we're in the Poconos. Just like singing a cappella in the Poconos.
You could probably sell that to the tourist center, and just live off of that for years. So Pawn Shop starts playing. You guys start getting tight. I'm guessing you're playing what was then Grape Street a lot, right? Because that's where I remember first seeing you guys, and that's when the wig went and blew off the back of my head. But
well, thanks, man.
but yeah. So we were kind of talking beforehand that I did not know that back in 2006 you guys won like an early, really big YouTube contest, correct?
We did, yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, it kind of like happened serendipitously. Big word. My friend Scooter Lammy, who has a movie called Kicking the Dog, and we were on the soundtrack. We had like Fading Out and a couple other tunes on the soundtrack. And he's like, yo, let's just do a live video. So we set up at Grape Room. It was the big one, with a big stage and on Main Street.
Oh, okay.
And, set up a pro live video shoot with like 12 songs. He edited it really well. It was really good. I was proud of it. And he's like, hey, I know some of these guys. They started this YouTube thing, man. Like, one of my friends has this website. And, like, everyone knew about YouTube, like, with, like, silly videos and maybe some old music from, that you forgot about that you could watch. But he's like, hey, there's a contest. So we entered. We did, like, a voting thing, but it was half voting, half, like, judging. So the judges decided to have different categories. So there was live video, there was scripted video, there was, different types of videos. So, excuse me, we won live video, best live video, and ended up on Good Morning America, which was pretty ridiculous.
That's pretty surreal. Did you get to play on Good Morning
We
America?
didn't. They played our video. We were handed like an award called the Golden Mouse Award.
Nice.
Diane Sawyer was there. Sam Champion. It was pretty surreal. Especially the song's called "Get So Hard." It's interesting to hear Diane Sawyer say, "Pawn Shop Roses, get so hard." So we made Diane Sawyer say, "Get so hard."
That's worth like 20 golden mouse right there. Like 20
totally.
Mice. Where does the golden mouse reside now?
It's in my top drawer in my room.
That's awesome.
My junk / important memory drawer, if that's a thing.
So for winning that, there was a gear you got as well, right?
Yeah, we got some like Epiphone. We got an Epiphone bass, a Slingerland drum kit, Epiphone, Alley Cat guitar, and I think that's it.
Okay.
I actually didn't get anything because I just was like, Kevin, you get the guitar, Justin, you get the bass, Rich, you get the drums. They didn't have a microphone, unfortunately, so.
What a letdown.
If I could have gotten some sort of microphone deal, that would have been sweet.
That's awesome. So, did you get any feedback from any labels or anything off of that? Like, or was that still too early YouTube? Or
well, the thing was, all right. So we had a label guy that was interested in us. It was basically just a guy who wanted to start a label called Evolution, which we ended up signing to. And this was before we won the contest. We didn't have an album at the time, which kind of sucked. Every band had an album, like a proper album. We had like a live album.
Yeah.
Which was the audio from the video. We basically, used that.
Sure.
But so we signed to Evolution, Jeff Davidson from DC, and then we started recording albums after that. Had we had an album at all these meet and greets and like hanging out at the bar with like the Google people and whatnot, I feel like it would have helped.
Yeah.
No, but we were just like, here's our burned live CD.
Yeah.
But Jeff's a great guy and he put out 3 albums with us, so
okay.
Not really, complaining about that.
So was the first one was Let It Roll then, or?
Let It Roll was the first official, yeah.
That's awesome. So the songwriting process on that, was that, made up of the 12 songs from the live studio recordings of those live songs then, or was there newer?
Well, no, Let It Roll. So the live album was live. Let It Roll was, we went into the studio at Milk Boy, and just recorded the songs from scratch. We recorded 10 songs, and it was basically like it was a studio recording.
Yeah. So with your process on that album, were you just looking at that as like, here's 10 songs for this album, or were you like, let's take some of this, some of that, you know what I'm saying? Like, what did you go into?
Yeah, we worked with a guy named Pete Donnelly, and he's like, bring me all your songs. So we probably laid down live in the studio, probably like 20 songs or something. And we sorted through it and picked the 10 best songs, I think. Because I didn't want to like do like a 12-song album or like 14 or 15 songs. I wanted to be like, here's 10 songs, here's us now. And yeah, we just kind of like picked and choosed.
Yeah. The also in this half serious internet research that I've put through, in
Which I'm
leading up to
surprised.
this.
Like we don't have a website, so I'm glad.
I know. I know. It was very difficult. Like I was cribbing off of like cached MySpace pages, and
Oh
like I was
wow.
going deep. No, I didn't. I didn't go that deep. But
Up there. I haven't done a Google search in a while.
I sadly have set up Google alerts for my own name so that if it pops up, I immediately am warned, because who knows? Who knows?
Oh,
Someone.
Kevin has a Punch Up Roses Google alert, so
Okay, good.
he'll
Good.
let me know.
He'll let you. There was a trip to Nashville. I saw you guys cut a song at Sun. What was that like?
Yeah, we went to Nashville. Sun is in Memphis, so we did that.
Oh, yeah.
That was awesome. That was Jeff Davidson's idea to do that. It was really cool to do. The recordings are not as good as Elvis or Cash.
Well,
but who is? But like, I wish it would have sounded better. I wish it was on like tape.
yeah.
Was that all digital at the time? Oh. They kind of got rid of tape. Which after that, Jeff Davidson came in and was like, "You need a tape machine." Brought in the tape machine. Started doing Live at Sun on PBS. So that came out, which was really cool.
Yeah. That's awesome. Like I mean, like so like you're there, like what does that feel like to be in something as historical as, like
just being there? Like I was like nervous. I was like, oh man, like we're recording here. What's going on? Like I'm using some of this their equipment that's there, some like awesome Guild guitars and touching the piano that all those guys touched. It's like it was surreal, but we just kind of tried to focus and lay it down, and we probably did like 3 or 4 songs.
Okay.
There.
Okay. So like, the YouTube thing blew me away, and then the Sun thing blew me away. Like, there's 2 things that I'm like, how we've never had this conversation,
I don't know.
It's crazy. So
yeah, where did we meet? I forget. We probably met prior to 2006, right?
I think so.
Or maybe around.
Maybe right around there. It would have had to have been somewhere in Manayunk, I assume. I started playing open mics and stuff like that around that time, and just was around and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I would assume it was then. But okay. Time is,
it's hard to tell. Like I'm like 2006 to like 2020. Like what has happened and when?
Seriously, when I was looking this stuff up and I was looking at dates, I was like, that does not track. I don't think that tracks. And then like I'm doing the math in my head, and I'm like, oh my God, it does track. That's absolutely bizarre.
Yep. We're gonna have our 20th anniversary in 2 years.
That is crazy.
So, think about that.
That is crazy.
Because our official Pawn Shop Roses name was changed 2002. I feel like I met Kevin in 2002, and then the ball rolled from there.
Yeah. So following Let It Roll, what would be the next release? Is Solid Gold after that, or?
It was Versions.
Okay.
So we did, some of the songs were from Sun. Some were from Kawari Sound. We did 2 different versions of Secondhand Love. There's the soul version and the country version. So that's why we call it Versions. It's just different versions. I actually had the idea at first. I was like, what if we record 5 different versions of the same song? But that didn't happen, obviously.
How far did you take that? Just the 2?
I probably have 3 or 4 versions of Secondhand Love.
Okay. I'd be very interested to hear that. That sounds very, very, very special. I like that.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That's cool. So not just jumping past things, but just kind of tracking the path here. So then Solid Gold, which I want to talk to you about, because the horns that open up the album are like a punch in the face. It's like happy. It's so good. Who's that horn section? Where did that come from?
It's Jay Davidson, who, if you look him up, he played with like Cinderella, Tina Turner, like all these big names, you know. Local Philly guy, great arranger. He arranges everything, you know, the sax, the trombone, the trumpet. Um, Adam Flicker played a lot of it. He was in a band called The Breaks.
Okay.
He plays with a bunch of other bands too now. But yeah, that, you know, we're like, we got to get some horns on this thing.
Oh, it fucking blows, man. It is so good. Like, of course, I didn't say that's opening with a hard-headed woman. Great,
Right.
great track, great track. There's actually a few songs on that album that I'd love to talk to you about because it is.
Sure, yeah.
This is Yo, That's My Jawn, and I'm not gonna lie, you've got some Jawns. So,
I appreciate it.
but fault lines. So just a great rhythm going on there and driving, and your voice is fucking stellar throughout that entire song. Is there anything behind like what the process was on writing a song like that? Because it kind of sounds like it might have started as a jam, but is that something?
It did, yeah. All right, so Zill Fessler, who had joined the band at that point, he's our drummer now. He was in Pepper's Ghost, and he's in a band called Underground Thieves now. Check him out. He's also in Pawn Shop Roses, but he plays in every band. Uprooted, which is a Rusted Root. The lead singer of Rusted Root has a new project called Uprooted. So,
oh wow,
all that stuff out there. Yeah, so he was like, you know what we should do? We should just practice, get a practice facility, and just jam, write songs, come in with ideas. And so we did that for maybe a few months, every week, I guess, maybe. I had that riff. Like, I wrote the riff. I'm not a riff guy. I'm more of a strummer, you know, but I was like, boom, 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 boom on my guitar. And Zill was like, that's a fucking great riff. So we just started jamming on it. Everyone contributed. You know, this was when Mike Walsh joined the band on bass. And yeah, it's definitely a jam.
yeah.
I didn't have any lyrics forever either.
Really?
I was like, bah, bah, ba-doo, ba-doo, you know. Like, I had no lyrics. So I was like, you gotta write those lyrics. So eventually I wrote the lyrics. You know, end of times lyrics.
Yeah.
Fault lines, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think speaking of Mike Walsh, I think the first song from that album I heard was he during those sessions played me The Shakes, and yet another song that I'm just like, the second I heard it I was like, yep, that definitely goes, that's it.
That's another one that was definitely a jam. We just kind of, I think one of us just went and then like everyone just, you know, pitches in and it just kind of like fell together.
Yeah. And then the third thing that my third Jawn on this album, like, first of all, don't get me wrong, the album is full of Jawns, but I'm just going through my tops. I'm going through my tops.
Top Jawns.
But Take Me As I Am. Tell me a little bit about that, because that's a very soulful song. Is that something you had written and brought to the group, or?
Well, that was something that we had a mountain retreat writing session in the Poconos, by the way.
Oh.
And Robbie Bennett, who's now in War on Drugs, he was in the band for a little bit on keys. And Zill was in the band, but I think it was Robbie Bennett's parents' mountain house or something. So I was like, I've got this idea. It's in B minor. Jammed on it, recorded it, and then I think Zill was like, I really like this one. He sent me the audio file with me just going, but you know, just because that's how I write lyrics. I just kind of like fill in the blanks with nonsense and then try to fill in the lyrics. So me and Zill actually sat and wrote that song lyric for lyric. He's like, it sounds like you're saying this. Write that down. I think it would be good with this. And then just like line for line going down, and then after an afternoon, the song was done.
Oh, that's great. I mean, like, I remember, that album came out, and I remember, it was getting good spins on XPN. I heard a few times. I think it played on 93.3, correct?
Uh,
I feel like
I feel like Fault Lines might have. I don't know about Take Me As I Am.
no, I'm sorry. I just meant songs from the album. I didn't mean
Oh, songs of
specifically.
the album. Yeah. I think,
Yeah,
yeah, right. I think Fault Lines had a couple spins on MMR at least.
yeah. So around that time, like, I think, did you guys play the Firefly Festival? I think, or
No, it was All Points West,
oh, okay. I knew it was one of
which is
those.
it was in New York. I think it was like a one-off, or maybe they had two, and it was the first one, and we opened up for Radiohead. We were the first band of a full day. We started at 1 p.m.
Yeah.
Radiohead hit at like 11 p.m.
Hey,
But
somebody's
still,
somebody's got to warm up that one at 1
someone's got
p.m.
to open for Radiohead.
That's right. That's awesome. Yeah, I remember you guys were playing some really killer shows there. Was there any thought of like trying to do like hop on with someone and do like a US tour or
I I I would have loved to, but like there was no opportunities. It's hard with it's hard to find a good booking agent.
yeah.
To get a good booking agent interested in you, to get your music in front of, say, the Drive-By Truckers or the Black Crowes or, some of those bands that we would fit with. It's, I still can't figure out how to do it.
I'm not even going to pretend to scratch that surface, but
It's
yeah,
hard
no.
it's hard to do that.
Yeah. So then I guess the next thing I remember is then you release a solo album. Is that correct?
I did in
Uh,
2015, I think.
yeah. And I'm gonna have to tell you, I've already told you a bunch of times. There are songs on there that are absolute Jawns, but one in particular, and it hits really hard. And I literally, in talking to people about doing this interview and you being a guest on the show, when people ask me like, "Well, is there anything I would know or anything I would like?" I play them "Ballad of a Self-Destructive Sucker" because
Cool.
I think it sums up the being a Philly musician so well. Like just the life lived is there's so much in there. Can you tell me a little bit about writing that?
Well, it's just, you're right. I mean, it's completely real. It's me sitting there with my dogs, drinking High Life, thinking about no one at shows, no one paying attention. Um, I had this little finger pick thing, ding, 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 in
Yeah.
A. And that one just kind of like wrote itself. I was just like, I opened up the floodgates and it just kind of came out.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's so great. Like, and it's a very vulnerable song because, like you were saying, like talking about like no one it shows or no one paying attention and stuff like that. Is like everyone in this area, right? Like you can
Yeah,
be the
everyone knows
most
that.
amazing person and like you're playing to the back of someone's head and the bar owner asking you to turn down. Like there's just so much in there that's just like
Right, yeah.
it's so relatable. It's such a good song. And then Bright Lights and Late Nights is another one on there that just absolutely swings. Like I dig
I,
that so much.
I actually wrote that. I started to write that. We were in Nashville, staying at some friends' houses, who basically like met us in a bar and were like, "Yo, we've got a place up down the street. Y'all want to crash?" And we ended up like staying like the whole time there. And every time we go to Nashville, we stay with these guys. Tony and Big Dave are their names.
All right.
So I woke up hungover on the floor. I mean, I was sleeping on the floor anyway, but and I woke up, I was like, bright lights and late nights are going to kill me someday. And it just kind of rolled from there.
That's awesome. So, it is considered a solo album. Who is playing on that album? Like, were you just bringing people
It's
in where needed, or did you have like a set backing?
it's mostly Pawn Shop Roses,
Oh, okay.
but also, actually, I should say mostly Pete Donnelly, who produced it, because he plays drums, he plays bass, he plays keys. He did some some synth stuff, which I wasn't so into at first. I was like, I don't know about the synth stuff, and he was like, no, trust me on this, and it's very tasteful.
Yeah.
Um, so it's like half him doing everything, and half pawn shop in a studio, laying down stuff.
Yeah. So, that relationship with Pete, like, how did that come about? Like, because he seems pretty integral to the pawn shop mythos, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, he definitely is. I think he's in a band called the Figs, and they played at Grape Room. Actually, the old Grape Street Pub, a lot. They're like a three-piece, sound like kind of like the Who-ish, Stonesy, just 60s rock basically. And he was like, "Yo, man, I've got a studio. Love to work with you." So then we started talking, and ended up working with him.
Yeah.
I brought him all the songs. He's like, "I like these songs." We did Let It Roll, the solo album, and a couple songs off of Versions.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah, good guy. He's still doing stuff. He lives in upstate New York now, I think.
Okay. So, that's like where I kind of lose track. So, like, what happened? What happened next? Like, where is everything? Where's everything at?
Well, we are writing now. I want to put out some singles. We put out a Christmas single, which I don't know if you heard.
I saw that. I saw that.
We've got a song called Sunshine. We did like a socially distanced COVID video of that with the five of us, like on the screen in separate houses. I'd love to record that. I'd love to do a song called I Want to Know Everything. I'd love to get a website back.
Yeah.
I feel like what happened was we kind of broke up at some point and then started doing cover gigs as Dead Flowers. And it kind of made us not as focused on the original stuff anymore. Because it's like when you start making money gig to gig, you're not really planning ahead for an album or like whatever. But now I think you're going to see a single by the end of the year.
Okay.
Or early 2021, which is probably better. 2020 sucks.
Yeah. You don't want anything tied to this year at this point. So you mentioned Dead Flowers. That's the Stones tribute band, right?
Right,
Is that all Stones, or do you mix anything else in that kind of fit?
Mostly Stones, but we do mix in, our favorites, Beatles, CCR.
Sure.
Classics.
Everything that your mom played on the K.
Right, exactly.
No, it's awesome. So, speaking of 2020 and the worst year in the world, what have you been doing as a working musician to kind of make your way through the pandemic? Like, I know early on I saw you were doing streams, which were, an amazing way. Was that profitable at all, or did it help?
Well, it's one of those things where it starts out really good. All your friends donate, and then it starts to like sort of so money goes down a little bit.
Yeah.
If I can be frank. Because like everyone's like, "Oh, I already donated," which right, man, like, I totally understand that. But luckily, I got a job at a music school in January, teaching 1 to 3 year olds actually.
That's awesome.
Which is interesting because like when I first got the job, I was like, wait, so these kids can barely walk and talk, but I'm going to teach them music. But it's basically like, if you can teach them like ta, 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 ti, ti, ta, ta, you know, like simple stuff like that, or do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. You know, if you can get them into that, just kind of like put it in their brain somewhere where they're like, oh, I remember when I was like 4, where, you know, someone taught me something about rhythm and the solfege.
Yeah. You just saying ta ti ti ta just like was like a flashback
Exactly.
to,
Like that's
yeah.
where it comes from, you know, that's.
So teaching 1 to 3-year-olds, this is going to sound like a really weird question, but are there any 1 to 3-year-olds that you like, or like, why can this 1-year-old pick up this rhythm so quickly? Like, can you see any like just inherent rhythm or musical?
It's hard. I mean, usually the ones that are super active, but also focused, like when we were able to teach in a room, which we're not now, it's all Zoom now. And we have like a different platform. We have like puppets and green screen stuff. And, you know, it's more like a
Awesome.
TV show now. But in the room, when they have there's a big drum on the floor, and you can see a kid. All right, you got it. All right. You know, there's a couple kids that can do that, you know, and they might go, ah, and you're like, yes. But
That's
that's
awesome.
what, you know, starting at a young age like that, I think it's very important to give people that music spark, you know.
Absolutely. Like,
They might not remember. They might not remember Mr. Paul. They might not remember all that stuff. But you know, 20 years from now, they're gonna be like, ta, ta.
they're going to see a big drum in a room and they're just going to go, you know.
Right, they're gonna be like, all of a sudden, they're gonna be like, boom. Start doing solos.
It is really important though, because I know like my own musical career or whatever, like wouldn't have been able to be anything close to what it was without public school and without music programs in school. Like it is very important. And, you know, I always hate to see, you know, funding cut and stuff like that on things like that, because I mean, it's not just like, hey, this kid's going to hear this music or do this music class and then become, you know, Beethoven or something like that. But it is something that unlocks, I don't know. I could get very
Yeah, it's the first thing to go too. Like, why? You know, I'd rather cut social studies than music.
Yeah.
I mean, half of social studies is a bunch of BS anyway. So
that's right. Look, we have the internet, so we don't need gym class anymore. I don't understand what we're doing, you know.
Right.
But no, so you know, 2020. I see you're starting to play gigs out again. Like, what are those? How's that kind of been?
It's interesting. We've been playing a place called 118 North in Wayne. So me and Jason. I don't know if you know Jason Jonick. He's the other guitar player in the band.
Okay.
So they kind of like open up the windows in the front, and we sit there, and people are outside. You know, some with masks, some not. But it's basically like, it's almost like a tailgate, I guess you'd call it.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's fun.
Do you get good crowds for that?
Usually, yeah.
Yeah.
4th of July was kind of dead. I think everyone went to the shore, but most of the time, yeah, it's really good crowds. And it's mostly on tips.
Okay.
You have a big tip bucket and do that whole thing.
That's cool. Yeah. I just started playing out. I just had our second gig out since everything started, and it's so bizarre because like I don't know how to promote it because I'm like just stay home, like
yeah. Where are you playing?
Tex-Mex
Okay.
in North Wales. But yeah, like part of me is like, hey, come out, but if you don't, you know, like
Right. I mean, it depends on like everyone's how can I say this? Like, if you feel safe, come out. If you don't, you know, stay at home.
Don't.
Feel safe at home.
That's exactly
Totally
right.
up to everyone's different way of thinking, everyone's different comfort level, I think I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's great. So we kind of chatted about this a little bit. Do you want to play a song or two?
I do, actually. Let me
Yeah.
get my guitar. All right, so let me do a song called Sunshine, which, if you haven't checked it out, it's on YouTube now.
Awesome.
There's a solo version, and there's a version with all 5 of us playing.
Goddamn beautiful.
Thank you.
That is goddamn beautiful. I love it. What? So that's a new song. You said you did it the pandemic kind of version. Did you write that during this hellscape?
I probably wrote this. I probably wrote this a year ago, maybe.
Okay. Yeah. It's awesome. Like, and I think a perfect.
It kind of fits.
Yeah, it's like that's why I was wondering if there was any synergy there, but it is really perfect. Like, what a great song. You want to do
basically about social anxiety and love.
Yeah. There's a lot of synergy between those two things too. Like there's there's a lot of synergy in that. You want to do one more?
Sure. Do you have a request? Should I do like one of your Jawns?
You can do it, Jawn, maybe, possibly, if you can. And I didn't even mention it, but can you do Ain't Nothing Wrong with That?
Sure, I'll do that right now, yeah.
Yeah.
This was actually co-written by me and Kevin.
Okay.
So, Kevin's getting a lot of shout-outs. He's going to see this. He'll like it. Everywhere I go, people want to know what's going on. I just got nothing to say. I tell them I'm great, and I move along. I don't have to show it, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. They don't have to know it, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. You think that you know me, but you don't. I'm just moving along, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. Shuffling his feet, kicking out the beat of this dead end town. He's got his heart on his sleeve and his head in the clouds, nothing going down. He don't have to show it, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. They don't have to know it, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. He thinks they know it, but they don't. He's just a moving along, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. I'm on fire, playing from a burning telephone wire. It's all my time in the end. Everywhere I go, people want to know what's going on. I just got nothing to say. I tell them I'm great, man, I move along. Everywhere I go, people want to know what's going on. Everywhere I go, everywhere I go, people want to know what's going on. Everywhere I go. But there ain't nothing wrong with that. No, there ain't nothing wrong with that. Everywhere I go, people want to know what's going on.
Yeah, brother. I love it. All
Everywhere
right.
I go, people want to know what's going Jawn.
What's going on? Oh, yes, synergy. Yeah, I love it. This is like that moments like that where people remind me that I have a brand that I forget about all the time. It always
I really like the name of the podcast, by the way. It's good.
well, thank you very much. I threw out a lot of really bad names to come up with that one. So no.
No, it's perfect with the logo, like, MTV Raps, and no, it's great.
That's awesome. Well, now comes the time where I get to put you through the gauntlet that we call the top 10 countdown. These are just 10 questions. There is no right or wrong to any of these. They're mostly personal things. If there's anything that you need some time to think about, take your time. There is no rush. We're just going to go through it. These are the top 10 countdowns.
There is no rush, and by the way, there is no rush on my countdown.
No
rush.
No. We'll talk about that later.
I hope I didn't offend you, but maybe I did. All right.
Just a little. Only the high school version of me, the adult version of me is a little more level-headed, but
Okay.
high school version of me, we'd be out in the parking lot. All right. The first of the top 10 countdown, number 1, what was your first Jawn? What was the first thing that you were just ridiculously obsessed with?
Obsessed with, probably Oasis. I just was like, That's what I want to do.
That's amazing. I still to this day listen to that Oasis Unplugged performance, mostly
Yeah.
because I'm an enormous Noel Gallagher fan, and to hear actually him sing those songs as opposed to Liam is something.
I actually, when that aired, I hit record on the VHS and the tape deck. I hooked the tape deck up to the TV so I could tape the audio and the video of that
I,
performance.
I love it. Headphone Walkman, walking around with the Walkman, vibing to the
Exactly. Yeah.
Unplugged. I
Yeah.
love it. Number two, what is your current Jawn?
Current Jawn. I guess if we're talking about Oasis, there's a band called the DMAs. They're from Australia, but they sound like they're from England. They sound very like Stone Roses, very Oasis. That whole Britpop era type thing.
Yeah, totally. Number three, what was your first concert?
It was actually a friend of mine in school, girl, loved Alanis Morissette. Was like, let's go. I'm like, sweet, let's go. Wouldn't you know that Radiohead opened up for Alanis Morissette?
Okay, that definitely, that's amazing.
So, first band on stage was Radiohead, which I'm like, wow. I was like, I think I know this band. I think they did a song called Creep, maybe. You know?
That's unbelievable. At least it wasn't like, at least you didn't like show up halfway through and you're like, these guys will never make it. Like these are.
No, I think I saw them on MTV2 or something.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Number four, what was the last concert you were at?
Oh, man. I have to think pre-COVID at this point. There's a band called Temples, who's a British band, very psychedelic. It was at, I want to say the Fillmore, but there's a smaller room.
Foundry?
The Foundry. It was at the Foundry.
Okay.
That was
Very
the last
nice.
one.
What month was that? Was that
Man, it was cold.
So it was a while.
It was probably like, might have been December,
Okay.
possibly.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't remember quite exactly what month.
It's really funny because when I put this together, I've been working on this project for a very long time. But when I put that question together, it was just like a throwaway question, like, "Oh, what was the last show you saw?" And now it's like, "What is possibly the last show you will ever see for the rest of your life?"
I saw a show back in 2019.
The last show that we saw, we went to see Mondo Cosmo in Ardmore. And it was the night before they shut down PA.
It was like March 13th or something.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was so crazy. But number five, what was your favorite concert you've ever seen? Your favorite live performance you've ever seen?
I'm gonna have to say Black Crowes and Jimmy Page at it was in Camden. It was like the E Center, Susquehanna Bank E Center, whatever it was called at the time. Yeah, that's probably my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Number six, who have you never seen live that you wish you would, living or alive?
I'd love to see the Stones. I can't afford it because it's like $1,000 for like a ticket. But I would love to see the Stones, and I hope they survive past this COVID experience and can tour again. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, they I forget what tour it was, but they were doing like club dates on top of their big stadium shows, and I forget the ridiculousness those tickets went for, but I could not imagine seeing those guys in a small club at this point in time, like
that would be amazing. A small club would be great, but it's probably like $10,000.
Yeah, it's nothing but execs in that audience like that.
Right. Yeah. They're like, who's this band again?
Right.
I think they're called the Rolling Stones.
Number 7, what is an unappreciated Jawn that you love?
Unappreciated. There's a guy named Terry Reid. He actually, Jimmy Page thought about him as the lead singer of Led Zeppelin before he met Robert Plant. But Terry Reid actually decided to do something else. Like he's, his solo stuff, which is really good, but unappreciated.
Okay, I will definitely have to check that out. Number 8, what's your favorite album?
Being a Stones fan, I'm going to have to say, at this moment, probably Exile on Main Street.
It's just a beast. That is just a beast of an album. Track by track is just phenomenal. Number 9, name an artist whose output you will consume anything they release, even to the point of being apologetic for it.
Apologetic, okay. Well, Oasis is one. I'm going to say a second one. There was a point where I got into Ryan Adams a lot. He's going through some issues now.
Yeah.
He's got some Me Too stuff going on. I haven't listened to him in a while, but there was a point where I was like, anything he puts out.
Yeah.
And he puts out a lot.
I was just going to say, that's a lot. It's like 5 albums a year or something like that.
Exactly.
It's so prolific. It's crazy. But yes, I definitely have the same struggles with him as well. Oh, am I allowed to enjoy this?
I do feel kind of creepy listening to him now, and I haven't in a while.
Yeah.
I've been trying to do Spotify. It's like, you might like this kind of thing. So I've been diving into that, trying to find new stuff.
Yeah. And then this is number 10. And this is, again, I know it's such a hard thing to pick, but what is your favorite Jawn of all time?
And it could be anything, you said.
It can be anything.
I should have thought about it when you said it to me. I was like, favorite Jawn of all time. I'm going to say Honky Tonk Women by the Stones.
Nice.
That, Southern rock / British / Stonesy.
Yeah.
It's dirty, it's country, it's rock, it's everything.
It's a great song and a great choice. These last few, these are the, so that was the top 10 countdown. I'm still working on trying to make this maybe play a sound or something like, hey, he did it. But these that we tack on at the end, these are called the one-hit wonders. These are just very quick, rapid fire. Do not put too much thought into any of it. Number 1, Hagar or Roth?
I'm going to go with Hagar.
Really? Interesting. Okay. Biggie or Pac?
Pac.
Okay. Nirvana or Pearl Jam?
Ooh. Pearl Jam.
Good choice. Beatles or the Stones?
I have to say Stones.
I figured you would. And it's also the correct answer.
Very close second, though.
Yeah, of course. But on the Beatles tip, favorite Beatle?
It changes from day to day. I'm going to say Lennon.
Yeah. And this one, much like the Ryan Adams conversation we just had, does have a little bit of an asterisk on it, but Prince or MJ?
I'm definitely going to go with Prince, not because of the Me Too or anything. I'm just going to say Prince.
Yeah, good choice. It's weird because growing up, I was a big Michael Jackson fan, to the point where I had a long ponytail. I dressed like the Way You Make Me Feel video, but 3 years too late. It was not cool anymore. That's the kind of fan I was. But in retrospect, I just listened to so much more Prince. It's just his output was something incredible.
Love his his stage presence, and like he can rip the fuck out of a guitar, and like that guy was super, super talented. Not that Michael Jackson wasn't talented, but
Sure. Well, speaking of talent, sir, you are incredibly talented as well, and I want to thank you for doing this and putting up with my dumb questions. Is there
I love
is there any way that how can people find you on the internet? What's you said there's no more website, but what's the easiest way to find out what's doing?
There isn't. Go to Facebook, look up Pawn Shop Roses, which is the original act, Dead Flowers, which is the Stones' Jawn, Instagram. I'm on there as Pkeenez, Pkeenez. YouTube, look up Sunshine, Pawn Shop Roses, new song, and that's probably good.
I'll try to get some links in the notes for all of that for people to be able to just click and make it as easy as possible. But again, brother, I thank you so much for doing this. I really do appreciate it. And
of course, yeah.
I hope it wasn't too intrusive.
No, this is my pleasure. Like, what else am I doing?
That's true.
We're all kind of like trying to fill up some time, I guess.
That's exactly right. Well, again, thank you. And I hope people enjoy this.
Yeah, no, I had a great time.